Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nymphs, Knots, and Nonsense. I am Mike Smith, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to tie probably the first fly that I ever tied, but it was a long, long, long time ago. But I definitely have tied a lot of these over the years, and that fly is an Elk Hair Caddis. Now, Elk Hair Caddis is one of my secret flies because it's so versatile. So on still waters, I'll use a small Elk Hair Caddis, so something like a 16 or 18, and use it to fish for risers in the evening because the silhouette is right. It floats like a cork. And if I tie them with light colored elk hair, then they're visible. You can see them. They're easy to see in that low light condition. I also use them as a dry dropper. So you float this elk hair caddis, they float really, really well. Tie a dropper off the bend of the hook, and you can use it for a dry dropper. And I do that a lot. It's also a really good searching pattern. So for things like pocket water, where you have sort of riffles, but not huge water, and you don't really know where the fish are sitting. So you can tie on an elk hair caddis and flip it into all the likely spots. And because it floats, because it's a really good general pattern that, caddis flies are everywhere, you can go prospect in areas and see what kind of fish you can find. Now, as far as materials, they're pretty simple. I've got a hook here. This one is a TMC 101 in size 14. I have some ultra wire in extra small silver. It's incredibly fine wire. You see that little point that's sticking out there? It's an incredibly fine wire. You don't want a heavy wire to add weight to the fly. I have some dubbing. So this is a Superfly dubbing from Hairline, and it's in this mahogany brown color. Good colors to use are green, anything ranging from a mint green to a greenish yellow. Browns work in all the shades, so lighter brown, darker brown. Black works. I think the answer there is any color as long as it's looking somewhat natural. And of course, you want a variety of colors to match whatever fly is out there that you see on the water. However, I always prioritize silhouette over size over color. And you can, in fact, catch fish with the wrong color fly if it's the right silhouette and size. Next thing you're going to need is hair. I call this elk hair caddis, but this right here is coastal deer hair. The trick is to find the deer hair that isn't isn't for spinning. So spinning hair will puff up on you because it's designed for spinning, right? It's got that hollow core that like a big hollow core that fluffs when you tie it in. This coastal deer hair is used for comparidons, elk hair caddis, even though it's a deer hair caddis at that point. But lots of different uses, but that's what I'm going to be using today. I have some thread. This is just it's UTC Ultra Thread in 70 denier in just black. And you'll need a couple tools. Here I have a hair stacker. This is a Stonefly hair stacker. I've had this thing for years and years and years, but I like it because it folds out, folds in. So you can grab the hair so it leaves a little spot here. You will need what I affectionately call the Barbie comb, or alternatively, a needle. Okay. And I'll talk about this here in a little while. You have different options when it comes to cleaning up that hair. And the last supply you'll need is some kind of dry fly cape. A good one that has feathers that are about the right size for your hook. And you can either use a hook gauge, which I have, or you can just take them on the cape, bend them around like so, and you want a feather that sort of has the length on the fibers to go to the tip of the hook and maybe a little bit more. If you've ever seen a caddisfly for real, or in real life, they're really these bushy, baggy kind of things. A little bit bigger hackle isn't going to kill you. And that's all we have for supplies. Now let's start tying this thing. So first thing I'm going to do is take my thread and get that started the usual way. One of the things I've noticed for this particular fly is that the skinny midge scissors seem to work a little bit better because sometimes you have to clip individual fibers. Otherwise it gets a little bit unruly. So that's what I'm using on this. And I'm just going to take it down halfway-ish. Take a smackerel of my really super thin, extra small ultra wire and take my pliers and give it a little crimp there. Make some ridges that'll tie in with the thread really nicely. And I'm just going to tuck that in there and tie it in. Okay. Next thing is I want a feather, and I'm going to grab one from something like that. Okay, let's measure it up. Yeah, it looks great. Okay, and just pull you out. Okay, now to prep this feather, what you'll see is that they have a shape, right? And right here, you'll see it's skinny. And if you bend it, that's where all the nice, even fibers start. Then you'll see it sort of tapers up, and then you usually have this fuzz. It's like baby marabou down at the end, right? And so for these, what I'll do is just take it right about here. And I don't spend a lot of time in prep on these because they're kind of fuzzy, crazy anyway. So I just cut that off, strip away lightly, just pull the extra little hairs off the area there. And now I have this feather. If you take the feather and grab it and you grab it and just sort of pull the fibers back like that and give yourself a little nub, you can place that nub and just tie it in. Now, there's some people who will strip some of the fibers, so they strip the fibers and leave just the center of the feather. You can do that. You can take scissors and cut on either side of the feather to leave little stubs. You can do that. I just tie that thing in there, and it's not going to go anywhere because if it pulls, the fibers sort of act like a finger trap. If you've ever seen those. I'm just going to pull this back until we get to the bend of the hook. Okay, totally cool there. Now I'm going to take some dubbing. And this dubbing that I have is super fine dry fly dubbing. And you'll see the size of the fibers on this are incredibly small. So you can take that and make a dubbing noodle with it, and it rolls on incredibly small. So I'm just going to take that, and I want it really tight. I don't want a lot of extra fuzz hanging around just for management. Then take those, slide them up, and I am going to wrap. Right? I just, like with these, you can do a little bit fatter body. On this one, I'm going to do a little bit of a skinnier body. And I'm going to need more here. More dubbing. That might be too much. Leave that for later if I need it. I probably will, though. All right. Take that. Boom. Sew it up. Wrap it. Okay. Need a little bit more to finish this body off. And about like that. Might be enough. Yeah, that'll be enough. Okay. You just want to take it up and leave a little bit of a space for a head. the head on these do have a tendency to get bigger. Now I'm just going to throw in a half hitch here because I am going to go rotary with this. So here's my bobbin cradle, and I'm going to hang this over like that. Okay. Next up, grab your hackle, and I usually wrap hackle over and wire ribbing I hack towards me. And so I'm just going to take this and just rotary it in there. And you're going to space these apart, kind of little bit of a gap in between. You don't put them right on top of each other, but you're going to palmer that up, similar to tying a woolly bugger, funny enough. Because if you look at it, yeah, if we had some marabou sticking out the back, it would be a woolly bugger. It'd be a really small woolly bugger, but it'd still be a woolly bugger. Okay. Now I'm right here at the end. So I'm going to take this and drop it over. Ooh. It's a little bit hard to work around the camera today. But 1, 2, 3, 4. And take this bad boy. We will take my skinny little midge scissors and raise that feather up and cut him right out of there. Okay. Left a little bit of stub. That is okay for us today. Okay. In fact, there's a little cheat way, which is throw a wrap right in front of him and no problem. Okay. Now you can take your fingers, prune these fibers back, or preen them, excuse me. Preen them back. Okay. That gives you a little bit more working room there at the end. And I'm going to throw another half hitch in there. Okay. If you get some fibers, and you'll notice I did, I got a couple fibers right there that I trapped. So I'm just going to take my needle and just stick it in there. Free some of those. Okay. Cool. Now, another little secret, if you just take your tongue, get your fingers wet, and then preen those feathers back. And sometimes they'll behave a lot nicer like that. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to set up for rotary again. So pull that over. And this time we're going to go the opposite way. So we're going to counter wrap this. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing. You want spacing in between. And if you notice that you're packing down fibers, so you'll see right here, I have some fibers that are packed down. So one of the little tricks you can do here is as you go rotary with it, you can wiggle. Putting them too close together. You can wiggle yourself as you come down, and that helps to maybe not trap as much. Getting closer to the end. Okay, now I'm at the end. You'll notice a lot of times when I go rotary and I'm wrapping material, a lot of times I'll end with the hook upside down, and that's okay. It's just one of those funny ways. It's probably something that I do, but that's totally okay because we're tying in the round here on a rotary vise. Okay. And now I will just wiggle that guy and helicopter him out. He should helicopter pretty nicely. One of the little secrets is you can put a little bit of downward tension. You see that when I pull a little bit of downward tension. You don't want to break your thread though, but pull a little bit of downward tension, and that helps to hold that wire better, and it'll helicopter off a little bit nicer for you. Okay. Now, next thing I want to do, take my needle and just give it a little pokey poke here where I see that I might have Trap some fibers, get those guys to stand out a little bit better. Just the obvious ones. You don't have to be perfect with this. I'm probably a little bit too OCD with trap fibers. But hey, you can be as OCD or as ADHD as you want when you tie flies. It doesn't matter. The fish don't care. All right, next thing I want to do is add a half hitch. Always with multiple steps on a fly. I'll throw in a half hitch just to hold my thread so that if anything happens and it goes poof, which is a technical term, it won't take several layers of material off with it. Okay. Now I want to take this hair. You see where I've been cutting on it right here. And I'm just going to grab a bunch about like that. You want a chunk that's maybe it's basically a chunk that is small enough to fit in between the point of the hook and the body of the fly. Okay. And I'm going to cut that off. I'll be back here in a second. Okay. So I cut that off and it looks like that. Okay. So I got all this material. And what I want to do is I want to get rid of the guard hairs. There are these little bits of fluff that are underneath the hair that are actually there as an insulating layer. They can help keep the deer or the elk warm. But when we tie a fly, we don't want that in there. So we have a couple different options. One of those options is you just take your needle and poke it through, poke it through, poke it through, and you'll see that fluff start to come out. Okay. And you don't want any of that fluff. That's one way to do it. The easiest way is to take this, I call this the Barbie comb, just stick it in, strip it down. You'll see it grabs all that stuff. And you'll see these ends here. This is okay when we start hacking or we start packing it or stacking it, excuse me, then they'll even up and it'll be no big deal. Okay. So I'm going to run that Barbie comb through it until I'm not getting any more fuzz. And that's sweet. So take these guys, all the ends here, stick them into my hackle stacker. Like that. And then I'm going to go beat this on the table. Okay, so it looks like that, but of course I'm doing it on the table. And what you'll see inside is that all of those hair tips start to even out. Okay, and if you have some, because I'm not using a lot of material here, if you have some that start to go sideways, that's okay. You can reach in, pull them out, drop them in the top, and stack some more. Okay, so like there's one right there. So I'm just going to drop him in the top. Give it a couple more bangs. And ultimately, you'll end up with something that looks like that, where the ends are all sort of in the same location. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. Now, what I like about this stacker is that it bends. So if I set it on a side, rotate the bottom part down, it gives me a place where I can just grab all the hairs. Okay. And what I want to do, and you see the hairs are all mostly together. There's a couple errant ones, but that's okay. And what I want to do is position this so that they stick just a little bit past the end of the hook like that. I'm going to hold it here with my left hand and then perch. Put my thread back just a little bit. Now I got to replace it. Okay, like that, and like that. And you want to do loose, 2, then start pressure. Don't break your thread. 4, 5, 6. Okay, let it go, and it starts to look like that. It's starting to look pretty nice. Do this, and now what you want to do is lift this up just a little, and you want to go put it right next to the eye of the hook and around. And then next to the eye of the hook and around, and do like, here's 4 wraps. Okay. 4 wraps to kind of make that stand up a little bit. Now it's time for a haircut. Definitely, this guy needs a haircut. Okay. And what we're going to do is grab the fiber, like grab the hair, reach in there with the scissors and cut it off. Okay. And we are almost done with this bad boy. Okay. And I want to take a little inspection here. So see, that's kind of not, it didn't cut it that cool. So I'm going to take my little guy, my mid scissors, and just give it a little touch up here and there. I've got some stuff to clean up in the bottom. I'll do that here in a second. All right. So now that I got that, we're going to go throw in some whip finish here. 2, 3. And be careful because the fibers from the head will try to run into your knot as you whip finish it. So I'll use my needle just to give me a little bit of tension in the line so it doesn't capture anybody. 2, 3, 4. Drop that down. Put in a needle here. Keep my tension and let it go up. Give it a wiggle like this with thread. Just make sure that we snug up that knot, and then I'm going to cut it off. Okay. Now, I'm going to take my mid scissors. I'm going to flip this thing upside down. You'll see, oh my God, who tied this? Right here, you got crazy fibers sticking out. And I'm just going to take my scissors and give it a little bit of a trim. Like at this point, the fish don't care. This is mostly for me, for pride in my box, so that if I hand the fly to somebody, they don't look at me and go, "Ooh, what's that?" Okay? The fish don't care. They would be happy to eat that. And now I just want to even that out. And we have an Elk Hair Caddis. Last step. Take our, here I have hard as whole, just head cement. I'm going to take that and take my needle, my good old bodkin, and I just dipped it in the head cement. I'm just going to add a little bit of a trace here. I think I need a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Little drop of it. And I just wipe it across there, flip it over, wipe it across there. And that is an Elk Hair Caddis. As always, thank you for watching. You know all the usual YouTuber stuff. I will see you in the next video. Cheers.